My name is Kevin Finke, and I am the transformation catalyst, really truly a culture transformation catalyst at NCR Corporation. I get to work within what we call the CAO office, and the CAO office is the Chief Administrative Office. It's led by our fearless leader, Andrea Ledford, who oversees all of human resources, corporate marketing, corporate comms, and public affairs, as well as corporate real estate, security, and aviation. And my job is to work across her team with the leaders that they support in the business to catalyze our culture transformation at NCR. So design thinking is simply a way of solving problems. I do look at it as kind of a problem-solving approach, and I think if you went to Tim Brown from IDEO, who from him and his West Coast comrades really are the ones who are modernizing design thinking and actually, I think, showing through their own work at their companies as well as with the leaders they support that come to them, what they're learning is that design thinking can be used for any kind of problem solving. And really what it's about is putting the people that are having the problems, the users, the guests, the employees, the participants, whatever they are, at the center of the solutions that you're creating, for them. So it is a problem solving approach. And the reason it's becoming more and more popular is because it's being used to create and design very meaningful, memorable experiences. And it obviously has been used widely in the consumer world, products, services, packages, furniture, so many things have design thinking they're being used with, or they're being designed with a user in mind. But now with this modernization of design thinking and just the application of design-based thinking in organizations, it's now being applied to employee experiences, to culture, to business strategy. And as someone who's been in the work of designing and creating experiences my entire life, I now am really focused on designing incredible, exceptional employee experiences using design thinking. I don't think that we would even know that we're human if we didn't have story. So story for me is foundational in all the work I do. I actually put it before design in terms of importance. Here at IQP's Chief Talent Officer Exchange, I'm very focused on design thinking. I could be also doing a storytelling workshop if I wanted to, because story is what brings meaning into our life. It creates identity, it promotes understanding, it also is used to motivate people into action, to influence their behavior. So what I believe companies are stories playing themselves out. And at the heart, if you are a well-defined company, if you're a company that has a vision, articulated a very clear vision, a mission, a purpose, a set of values, these are the foundational story of everything that you do as a company. And the only way that those things are brought to life is through people. Because those things are nebulous. They don't exist, they're not real until they are brought to life, lived and embodied by human beings. So every organization has a shared story. Now, what they do together to start creating against that shared story or with that shared story in mind, the systems, the processes, the experiences of work, that can be consciously designed. That is where design thinking comes in. And what you're doing is sitting with the employee, listening to the employee, whether it's a small group of employees, maybe a functional group, or whether it's an enterprise of employees, and you're talking to them about their work experience. What do they like? What don't they like? You're listening, you're empathizing, which is the first part of design thinking, going into and understanding the hearts and minds of your user or your employee. And so once you start to understand their need state and really kind of understand what they need out of employment or an employee experience or a program or whatever it is, you can then start to ideate. You can start to create a massive amount of solutions, and through a process in design thinking, be very democratic to narrow it down to the best ideas, and then take those back to your people and say, what do you like about these or not like about these? And then things will continue to bubble, and all of a sudden, you'll be at one or two places, ideas, that you can then bring to life, and that's where you start to prototype and test and implement and go into the act of creating that experience. And all the time, never losing empathy. So even while the experience, for instance, is being deployed, that you're still listening about the experience they're having. So when you go back for phase 2 or the next program or whatever, you have new ideas and feedback and thoughts and insights in mind. So that's design thinking literally in action. And it is about constantly staying in the state of empathy, of constantly synthesizing and generating new ideas and new experiences and new ways of doing things, and then going out and actually implementing them, learning from that, and then going back. It's keeping this process in motion. And by the way, this is not easy, and this is something that HR and many infrastructure teams have never done before. So that's really important, and it's why it's hard. It's why I get blank stares a lot at exchanges, because it's so new to them. And one of the key things about design thinking is agility. You have to be agile in the process. And our companies, our systems, and our processes just aren't set up to be agile, to have a lot of agility. And one example I give sometimes, especially for HR practitioners that maybe are in the learning space, they are very used to designing an entire course, an entire program, maybe a leadership development program that could last 6 months, and they get it all, they tie it up with a bow, it's beautiful, and then they deploy it. And that's not the way of doing things any longer. What you would want to do in using design thinking is understand the needs of them, but just start implementing the beginning of the program, maybe the first third or the first half of the program, and get it out. Start going with it, listening what's working and not working while you're working on the development of the second half. With what you took into the first half in mind, but now as you listen, you're learning. And you might learn, for instance, in that course, the videos aren't resonating. And then now as you're in development for 2, instead of already having 6 videos, 3 in 1 and 3 in 2, and they were all developed and tied up in a bow and beautiful, you actually can affect the video development in part 2. Of this kind of process. So it's breaking things down. It's being agile with the ways that you create and design and deploy experiences. So, that's a long way of talking about design thinking, but, it really is about solving problems in agile ways at its heart. So I have a lot of truths that guide me, and one of the truths I believe is that it's time for organizations to be human, to realize that all they are organized human beings. And we are in this phase of business that we're humanizing organizations, we're humanizing leaders. There's a call for leadership that is vulnerable, that can generate massive amounts of trust, because at the heart of those kinds of traits is where creativity, innovation, collaboration, camaraderie, respect, all of those things are there. And that's what we're trying to generate as leaders in organizations. So the first thing is that not only should you be considering getting design training or just understanding design, whether you go back to school, whether you go to Udemy or Coursera and just take a class on design thinking, you can go online to the D School at Stanford. They have all sorts of things they're giving away to train you to be design thinkers. That you need to have design skills, and we can talk about that. But at the heart of all of it is story. And so what I also tell people is that story is what makes us human. It's what makes us understand what it means to be human. It's what's at the foundation of all of our organizations and businesses. So not only do you have to be a great designer if you're in HR, but you have to be an amazing storyteller. Why? Because you have to motivate and inspire workforces, leaders, as business partners. You have to motivate your leaders. You have to bring meaning and understanding to topics and things they don't understand. And the only way you do that, the way you build culture, is by building it around a shared story and using story to your benefit. So not only should HR practitioners think about design and becoming better at design, but you should also be thinking, I think, just as equally about being a great, amazing, incredible storyteller.